Hey guys, it's Miss Johnson and I'm here to bring you our third notes video on from Unit 1, which is on graphing and writing equations in slope-intercept and point-slope form. So I can graph and write equations in slope-intercept and point-slope form. So we're going to talk about slope-intercept form first. Now this is the most common form of a linear equation. And slope-intercept form happens to be y equals m times x plus b. Y equals mx plus b. So hopefully that's a form of an equation that you're familiar with and that you looked at last year in algebra, or in algebra 1 in 8th grade. The m variable stands for the slope and the b variable stands for the y-intercept. So let's talk about what each of those things mean. The slope happens to be rise over run in a graph. That is the same thing as saying change in y over change in x. Or if we looked at it in the form of a formula, it would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That would be given 2 points. Okay, so all of these things are equal to each other. Rise over run is the same as change in y over change in x, and that's the same as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, this piece is if you're given 2 points. Okay, so that's how we need to find the slope of the line. We got to look at 2 points, okay? The y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. So it's also where x is equal to 0. So wherever x equals 0, that's the y-intercept. Now, where we use this is to graph equations. We use slope-intercept form to graph linear equations. Now, don't forget that when you're taking these notes along with the video, if you need to pause at any time, go ahead and do that. This is your time, this is your speed. If you need to slow it down or take a break or come back to it, feel free to pause as you go. And rewind too. So let's take a look at number 1. Number 1 is just very basic. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. So we're given the slope, we're given the y-intercept. If slope-intercept form looks like this, that means that this -2 goes in for my slope, this +2 goes in for my y-intercept, which gives me y equals -2x plus 2. In number 2, again, using the same form, y equals mx plus b. Now I have a slope of 4/3 and a y-intercept of -4. So that looks like y equals -4/3 x minus 4. Okay. Now, if we look at numbers 3 and 4, now we're looking at a graph. So I need to figure out the slope and the y-intercept and go from there. So the y-intercept is usually pretty easy. We just need to find where the graph crosses the y-axis. Here's my y-axis. Here's where the graph crosses, because that's my line, and that happens to be at -2. So in this case, I'm looking at b is equal to -2. Now the slope is, we have to do a little calculating. I'm going to use the 2 points that were chosen for me to calculate my slope. And I'm going to count how much did it rise. It went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So that's a +6 rise. And how much did it run? It went over 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a +4 run. So the slope here is 6/4, but we always want to write things as reduced as possible, so this is the same thing as saying 3/2. So in slope-intercept form, this looks like y equals 3/2 x plus 2. Oh, sorry, -2. I didn't see my little minus sign there. -2. So there's my slope-intercept form. In number 4, again, I'm going to use the 2 points that were chosen for me. They're right here and right here. I want to look for the y-intercept. I also want to look for the slope. The y-intercept is usually pretty easy to pick out. In this case, the y-intercept appears to be at +1. The slope, I have to do a little calculating, so I'm going to do rise over run. Now, in this case, the rise is negative. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a -4 rise. So I need to pay attention to whether my graph is going up or down. But my run is still positive over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, +6. Now, just so you're aware, you can go from right to left. You could have done up 1, up 2, up 3, up 4. That would be a +4 rise, and backwards to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a -6 run. You're going to end up getting the same answer because you've got a negative divided by a positive, and you still get a negative slope. But either way you look at it, you should end up with a negative slope, and that's because your line is decreasing. So we should have a negative slope there. So my slope is rise is -4, run is +6. Again, I want to reduce it, so that's -2/3. So the equation of the line would be y is equal to -2/3 times x plus 1. Okay. Now let's talk at number 5 and number 6 about how to graph these equations. So now we're given the equation, but we need to put them on a graph. Remember that this is your slope and this is your y-intercept. So we want to start with the y-intercept. I'm going to start with the y-intercept of 4 here, which means I count up 1, 2, 3, 4 places and put a line on the y-axis because that's the y-intercept of the graph. Then I use the slope, -3, and treat that as rise over run. That would be -3/1, which means I go down 1, 2, 3 places and over 1. Now it's helpful to do that a couple times just so that you've got a few points to give you that nice straight accurate line there. If we only have 2 points, we can do it with just 2 points, but it might not be super accurate. So there's my line graphed. If I take a look at number 6, now I have a y-intercept of -2, which is down 2 places here, and a slope of 2, which is 2/1. That means I go up 2 places and over 1, up 2 places over 1, up 2 places over 1. So I want to connect them with a line there, and there's my graph. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop your video at this point. So please take a minute and hop back into Schoology to take that video quiz. We'll come back in class together tomorrow to finish the back page of your notes. Thanks for watching and have a good night.